Hello, church. I want to share a significant change coming up in the life of our church. And let me start at the beginning. About 3 years ago, we began to notice a few trends in the church. For quite some time, we have been privileged to offer two distinct worship services to our members and guests, a traditional service at 8:30 and a more contemporary one at 11 o'clock. And those distinctions have served us well, haven't they? I've said repeatedly that as long as we have worshipers for each style and people to lead worship in that style, we will continue to offer both, and we've been blessed in doing so. Now, over the last 3 or 4 years, attendance in our 8:30 service has plateaued and began to decline. And I haven't been too alarmed by this. An attendance at that service remains higher than some of the other churches in our county. So, and furthermore, because believers are participating in authentic, God honoring worship, there's value in offering that worship to the Lord. Now, meanwhile, at 11 o'clock, it's we found ourselves approaching capacity, and I'm not sure what was driving the growth in that particular service, but the truth is that on some Sundays there's very few seats left, and we've just learned from the Worship First capital campaign that more people are moving to the Clover area. So 3 years ago, those realities led us to begin brainstorming ideas to handle the growth. And the original plan was to add a third service and double our life group times. And that was a bold plan, but one that would never really come to fruition. It just didn't work out. It was too demanding on our staff and our volunteers and would have had a negative impact on our life group ministry. Now, last year, I began examining other options and finally developed an alternative plan. I proposed to four leadership groups in our church a plan to advance the entire Sunday morning schedule by 30 minutes and align our services, incorporating elements from both styles. And I made a list of pros and cons, a practice that I do when I propose any kind of change, and came up with the following. The cons to doing this is we would lose some identity and style. We're known for offering both worship styles. Additionally, some of our members may not appreciate combining traditional and contemporary elements in the same service. Thirdly, and probably the most difficult part of the plan, is that childcare for the earlier service would need to be added, further burdening our already stressed out volunteer base, right? So the pros are some people who worship at the later service might begin attending the earlier service, alleviating the issues of both services, limited space and declining attendance. Now, life groups would not need to change under this plan, except maybe their start times. And additionally, worshipers would be blessed by a few new elements not currently offered in their service, like a formal offering, a directed prayer time, a children's sermon, and more. And finally, greater unity in the church could be achieved if everyone experienced the same benefits of our worship planning and style. And I saw the benefits outweighing the drawbacks, and decided to begin pitching this idea to a few leadership groups. Now, the staff and the worship committee had a lot of questions, a lot of concerns about this, but ultimately they reached the same conclusion. We've been brainstorming this for 3 years. We have to do something. There is no plan that's going to be easy, but at least this one seems to involve the least amount of uncomfortable change for the church as a whole. Then I approach the deacons for validation as they have a strong sense of the church's mindset, and they eventually came to the same conclusion as well. Then I presented the proposal to the church council, which we appoint and trust to make these kinds of decisions. And after honest debate, they decided to implement these changes, replacing the plan to add a third service. So beginning the first Sunday in July, our Sunday morning schedule will be this. We will have blended worship at 9 o'clock and 11:30, with all style elements included, and including preschool childcare at both services. Life groups would then be sandwiched right in the middle at 10:15, and they would do business just as they're doing right now. Now, honestly, extensive planning is going to have to take place. A lot of teams are involved in making Sunday morning happen, but I'm confident that we can do this. And by making these Uncomfortable changes, the church can achieve both growth and greater unity if we unite and work together to make this happen. I know you probably have a lot of questions and I want to meet with you. So feel free to call me, text me, email me, or better yet, let's just go get some coffee and talk about it. Again, thank you for listening. Continue to pray for our church and be blessed.